Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? What's going on? I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Life podcast. It's Jay Moore, the healthy accountant, helping you to account for your life. And today, here's what we're talking about, guys. It ain't where you're at, but it's where you from. Where do you come from? And so this is a major question that one I had to debunk, because I had to debunk, that old saying that folks have said. I'm not sure if they said it where you came from, but it was, it ain't where you're from, but it's where you at. I come to challenge that today and say it ain't where it ain't where you at, but it's where you from. So today, guys, let's check this out, because I want to take you back, and taking you back a lot of times is the place to start, just so that we can move forward. And here's where we're moving to. We are moving to a place where you say, "Wait a second, that's where I'm from? No way. There's no way I'm from there." Look. I'm gonna help somebody, just one person. I'll probably help one person today. And that one person gonna say to themselves, "Wait a second, you telling me I'm not from Newark, New Jersey? Wait, now I lived there for a long time. I lived there for 18 years. You telling me that I'm not from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? You telling me I'm not from Brooklyn? You tell me that's just where I lived?" Yeah, see, it ain't where you from, right? I'm sorry, it ain't where you at. It's where you actually from. And here's the thing. If you and I understood exactly where we were from, come on now. Look, my son Jacob, man, he's been dealing with something. He had a little cold, and it's been lingering the past couple of days. And he's like, "Man, this is getting on my nerves." Well, it's been lingering the whole week. It's getting on his nerves. I'm like, "Man," I said, so last night, man, we was doing something. I said, let's do something different. Let's do something different, because I'm saying to myself, look, there's a way to fix the situation without medicine, without taking something else, without doing any of that. There's a way to fix it. How is that? Well, can we see the inside of our bodies? Let me ask you a question. Can you see the inside of your bodies? Do we know exactly what happens inside our body the moment that we eat something? Can we see it? Can we see the inside of our bodies? The moments that we start walking, the moment that we start working out, the moment that we talk a certain way, especially that, the moment that we think certain thoughts. Let's look at that. Thinking a certain way. What happens on the inside of our bodies? Do we know? No one knows, because no one can see that. But if we understood where we're from, we'd know. Because you say, "Oh, I can't think like that." Think about this. Why is a place like heaven associated with white? Think about this. Why is a place like hell associated with black? No pun intended, right? But why is hell dark, and why is heaven light? That's interesting. Something about light. It's crisp. It's nothing like they have parties and folks be like, "Oh, we're having an all-white party. Everybody gonna be crisp." There's nothing wrong with the black parties, right? But it's a different vibe. But the all-white parties, it's like, yo, this is a different vibe. Yes, different vibe, because when we understand the question, and you have to ask yourself this question, because I asked myself, so where the heck am I from? And that's when the bowels of my body from the inside talk back and says, "You are from the kingdom of God." I said, "But I never lived there." He says, "Look, wait a second. You were never supposed to live here, son." Guys, I want you to consider this. Christians right now, if you're a Christian and it's like, "Man, I got to get to heaven." No, God don't want you there. God did not create heaven for us. God is, that's our headquarters. That's where we get orders from. Orders come down from heaven, and then we like, okay, that's the orders that I get down here in Indian Head, Maryland. Cool, that's perfect. Oh my goodness. I don't have to go back home because home is here with me. Home's teaching me how home works from there. So they did not create heaven for us. They said we may get the tour. We'll get a tour of heaven. It's like, come on in. We'll give you a tour of heaven, what it looks like, but you ain't living here. What we're gonna do for you guys is we're gonna turn that place over that you've been living at, and we're just gonna make it new again. It's nothing like getting a new car. Like, it's nothing like taking the old car you got, trading it in, getting a brand new. It's the same model. A few years ago, well, actually not even a few years, a bunch of years ago, we had a 2006 MDX, Acura MDX. We had 2006 Acura MDX, and we had this car. We had driven it for a few years, maybe about 5 years. I think we driven about 5 years. No, we drove for 3 years, because in 2000, I can't remember, whatever it is. So we had this MDX, and then we went and traded it in. And got another one. But literally, we had charcoal gray, then we got light gray, silver. Almost the same looking car, right? So when God turns over the earth, it's gonna be the same earth. It's not gonna be different. Everything just gonna get an upgrade. Oh, the grass is gonna always stay green. We won't have to worry about those seasons. Oh man, there's not gonna be snow anymore. He's gonna adjust some things that we won't have to have anymore. Because there'll be no need for seed time and harvest. That's something that the word talks about. Because of sin, there's seed time and harvest. Like, because of sin, there are seasons. Because of sin, there is time. There'll be no more time. Man, imagine that. But that's where we're from. And in heaven, there is no time. In heaven, see, God had to create time. Why did God create time? Well, he says, when we create things, guys, when you create something, you have to have a contingency plan. You have to have a what if. Right now, I'm creating the good accounting challenge. I've already created it, and I've already created the framework, and then I'm still going through the process of creating all of the things that go inside of it. Contingency plans. What'll happen if this person does? Once people join the challenge, this is what's going to happen. Then when people join the program, this is what's going to happen. But what if this happened? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? Like, you have to have a contingency plan on the what ifs. And God created the what ifs because he was just like, man, he says, man, if they mess up, if they don't pass the test, or it could have been many tests. But if they don't get past these tests, how we gonna save them? How we gonna fix the situation? Because remember this: when you create something, you can do whatever it is that you like to do. Think about that. No one can tell you what to do. No one can say, "Hey, well, you can't make that change." God's like, man, I can do what I want. God, listen. Here's what's cool about God, because the devil don't like this. Satan don't like this. God's like, man, I can save my people, and look, it's nothing you can do about it. They're my people, and because they're my people, and because they messed up, I'm gonna go ahead and fix the situation. That's exactly what we do in the kingdom of heaven. In the kingdom of heaven, we look at responsibility, right? That's one of the main things that people from heaven look at. Like, oh my goodness, oh, it looks like, man, my son is sick. Man, that's my fault. It's my fault that my son got sick? Absolutely, it's my fault. I did not create a healthy enough environment from the time that he was younger that he'd never get sick. That's my fault. I take 100% responsibility. And what do I do in the process? Man, I work out. I'm doing as best I can so that when he's old enough and he says, Dad, I'm just going to start working out all the time. Like right now, he doesn't do that. But I guarantee, I'm gonna say something bold here. I guarantee that both of my children, my sons, they will follow behind in my footsteps, because there will be a path for them to follow. They're gonna be like, look at what Dad did. They're gonna be like, man, I'm going that way. They're gonna be like Jared, my oldest son. I already know he's gonna do a lot of stuff that I did. Jacob, he's gonna do it as well. And he's going to be like, yo, Dad was already doing this forever. It's funny. I met somebody at the 100X conference last month, and he just, this guy name is John. He's 61 years old. I say, John, you 61? He says, Jay, I haven't been sick in 26 years. Well, it was, yeah, I think he said 26 years. He says, yeah, man. After he made one change, he made a change in his life. Come on now. He hadn't been sick in 26. I said, you haven't been sick in 20. He's nothing. I'm like, really? I haven't been sick in 26 years. And I told Jacob about this morning. He says, Dad, did you find out what he was doing? I said, it's a good thing I just remembered because I need to reach out to him. I said, because when I was talking to him, I said, John, so man, there's a reason why I'm meeting you today. He says, yeah, probably. Because look, at the end of the day, guys, our bodies, where we come from, your bodies don't just die. They stay living. Here's our job, yours and my job. If I'm from the country, I'm from the country of heaven. That's where I'm from. Are you from there? You got to be from there because we look like each other. Not physically, not you don't look like me, but we look like each other. We got the same attributes. We were all created in the image of God himself. I want you to think about this. Imagine creating something like I'm creating the Good Accounting Challenge. I've created that. That's in my image. I could not create that unless I was that. Are you catching this? See, guys, when you create something, you're creating who you already are. You're creating what you already have within you. And I could only create it. Look, I remember trying to create things that didn't mesh. I'm like, man, I haven't done that yet. I'm not doing that yet. Man, I'd like to do that. Man, I guess it's good to do it first. You know how a lot of times folks like, man, I got all these testimonies, all these people that I ain't got no testimonies of anybody that's going through this process. I work with people and they have testimonies on different things that I've helped them do. There's no testimonies on this good accounting process. I'm looking for some. I'm looking for some people who will go through the process. Are you one? Are you somebody that will go through this process, the good accounting process? See, the good accounting process, what is that? That's where we start with us. If we do not account for us, that's why the Account for Life podcast was created. I didn't know why I was creating it. I'm like, God, what is this? What is this thing that you have me doing? He says, man, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. I said, well, can you tell me a little bit more? He says, nah, because if I tell you everything, then you may mess it up. So for now, because you've yielded your life, you know you got to do that, right? Have you ever taken an oath, right? Back in the day, in the Jewish community, Hebrew community, when two people make contract with each other, right? Covenant, like that's huge. And there's a major ritual that they go through when it comes to this, but that's where it's like blood. You have to literally, when you shake hands, like, I think you cut yourself or something, and you shake hands and both persons take on the last name of each other. It's almost like because you go into covenant with them, like if you break the covenant, you got to die. So you can't break it. And that's in essence. See, there's a lot of spiritual things that God teaches through some of these things that especially Jewish people, they know. And so when it comes to how we're living our life, right? Like God's like, yo, that comes first. Let me show you. So when I yielded my mind and my body, my spirit over to God, we went into covenant. So when he tells me to do something, I have to do it. I'm like, because we're in covenant. If I don't do it, then I'm saying that I'm going to break the covenant. And if I break the covenant, then I got to die. I ain't trying to die, man. No. I'm not trying to die. So I was like, okay. He gives me this assignment almost 6 years ago. He says, enlighten yourself, son. He told me to enlighten myself. He says, because you got to first enlighten yourself. And then once you enlighten yourself, then you can possibly enlighten somebody else, right? But you're not doing this for anybody else. You're doing it for me. So understanding where we're from, then we understand why we do things. Write that down. When we understand where we're from, then we understand why we do things. So God helps us to understand why I understand that I'm doing this project here for him. I don't even do it for you. I can't, because I'm in covenant with him. So I do it for him because that's where I'm from. He's my king. He's the leader of the government. And when the government leader gives you an assignment, you can't even say no. This isn't like Mission Impossible, and I can say no. No, you can't say no. You just got to say, okay, those are the orders. I get orders from headquarters because that's where I'm from. And then the kingdom of God ships them down. And then I go around as the representative of the kingdom of God here on earth with the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is right here on earth. You're like, it is? Yeah, it's on earth. It's where you are. It's where you are. It's like the country away from the country. So here in this kingdom of heaven room, I'm sharing with you tools and strategies that you can use so that you can account for your life, so that you can focus on what's best about what God thinks of you. God says, man, if you just knew where you were from, if you understood the purpose for which I've created you, you would just, your mind would be blown. His ways are not our ways. And so because his ways are not our ways, we have to then say, you know what? Typically when God gives us an assignment, it's going to be weird. And it's not going to necessarily feel normal. But one day you look up and it's 315 days in this year, and you've done something that I've never done this before, where every day out of every day of this year, I was focused on doing a podcast. Never did that before. And he says, you'll keep doing it because you were born for this. This is the reason for your life. Don't worry about the people, Jay. I'm sending you 120. I'm sending you 1,000. I'm sending you people that are not of the fold that you're from. What's God saying to you today? He's saying something to you. And if he is, I'm not saying if he is saying something. Listen, take heed. Here's what you do. Yield over your life and then come under the enlightenment as to where you are really from. And if you're really from the kingdom of God, then that means then all the circumstances, all the challenges, they are merely not real. Those are fabrications that we've created. Now, once we enter into the kingdom of God, we can now realize the eternal Father and what the eternal Father has for us, so that we'll never focus on what we don't like or what we don't desire. All we do is focus on what he desires for our life. So you're from the kingdom of heaven. You're from the kingdom of God. Join me in this mission so that you can enlighten the people who are within your purpose, because our purpose are always connected to people. And if you're purpose driven, join the Good Accounting Challenge, where you will discover not just business mistakes, but you'll discover things about your life and things about things that you can do inside your business so that you can connect the dots between your purpose and your business. Guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore. I'm the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the Healthy Accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.